We're live. Let's go.
Hey.
Stick talk. All right. Dude, I want to kind of start with like a story because it's pretty cool how we're sitting here. What is this now? April 2023. And I don't know if you remember, but last year in like February maybe was the first time we met in person, like right down the street at that steakhouse.
Yeah.
And so it was cool, like just to be able to reconnect a year later in the same area here in Fort Lauderdale and rip a podcast and catch up on all your achievements.
This is one of the coolest things about Twitter. You can just I've never met Scott before, right? Or Dan before, and we're like, hey, what's up? It's like we knew each other from middle school, right? We were just talking.
I remember when me and JK met.
I was going to say, remember when you tell that story, actually. Christian, you guys might be sitting a little too close together right now. I'm scared Christian might get a little aggressive, but tell the story.
No, JK's like, yo, follow yourself on Twitter on my phone. I pull up my ad, and I'm just muted on his phone. I'm like, off to a great start.
Oh, dude, that was the funniest thing, though. We were going to meet up with, like, Nick and Logan and Daniel and Brian Moncada and some of these other guys in Brickell in Miami. And we're like walking to the restaurant. We just see like "Stop Being Poor" with a wizard on this guy, the back of this guy's shirt. We're like, "Yo, what? Who is that?" And then we turn around as JK. We're like, "No way, JK Molina's here." It's so funny.
Yeah, like to be fair, I mute everybody. I have 1,500 people muted and 1,100 people blocked.
I didn't take it personal.
Yeah, thanks.
But not me.
It's cool. Nah.
These guys make fun of me too much for me to take
not.
anything personal at this point.
Now I like your shit. I like your posts.
Thank you,
Yeah, they're good stuff. They're good stuff. Yeah.
So we'll get into a more formal intro, bro. Thanks for coming on the podcast, making the trip. Short little America bender, sounds like, right? Coming from Poland?
Yeah, I'm going to Poland.
Going to Poland?
Yeah. So
quick stop in Miami, quick stop in Austin, Chicago. Not to give out your whole, itinerary or anything, but
yeah, it's
cool
all good. But like, it's really fun. The other day we were walking through Miami, and I was telling my dad about how I'm doing all this Twitter thing, and I'm gonna meet my Twitter friends, and like it's like the first day in Miami, and my dad goes like, "Hey, I thought you were like famous. Like, why has nobody recognized you?"
No way.
Are you traveling with your dad right now?
I'm like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate it.
Thought you were famous.
Yeah. Well, I'm visiting family over
That's
here.
cool.
Yeah, but like, I had the chance to be here, right? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. This is actually my first in-person podcast.
That's awesome. Bro.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, let's rip it.
It's so weird, right? It's like just having a conversation with mics in front of you, so it's a little bit awkward at first.
It's way cooler because you know in Zoom how you go like, there's a little bit of lag, so you can go like, hey, no, what were you saying? Oh no, you go first. And it's like that doesn't happen here. It's like whoever wants to talk talks.
Yeah, no interruption. But to go to a little bit more of a formal intro, just for the audience out there, welcome JK to the show. If you want to just give a quick intro of who you are, what you're all about, what you're here for, and then we'll get started.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me, guys. And I'm JK Molina. I built and sold Tweet Hunter on Twitter, which is a free Twitter account. And now I'm just here to show people how to monetize, not grow their audience, because likes are cool, but likes in cash.
Says it on the hat.
Yeah, it says I got the merch now.
I got the merch,
but yeah, we connected maybe 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago on Twitter when we all started in 2020. It's just been a cool ride,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, connected with some cool guys, sold a company for $1 million, not a big deal.
Yeah, that was cool. There was a lot of drama being involved lately with that thing, but before that, it was all really, really interesting.
Yeah. So do you regret it? Like, it sounds like that was like a big, moment for you selling the company. A lot of drama.
Regret what?
Like going through that situation. Did that kind of ruin the Twitter space for you, or not really?
Not really, man. I feel like, especially, like Twitter's really good at making and like creating networks and connections, right? Like you feel like the person, and because there's like all these level of like connection, there's a lot of like emotion with that connection, right? So some people will talk about like, hey, I don't know, this guy is like doing this and doing that, and it's like they don't realize that if you turn your phone off, like it doesn't exist. Walk out, it's just, like it's not happening. So a little bit, I was like kind of disappointed in the beginning, but then I realized like there's like so much, more things
that you can go
to do. When it comes to Tweet Hunter, if there's anything I regret, like it was, because it wasn't like the biggest exit, right? It could have been something bigger, but I never really like gave it the attention that I should have given it. and then like we sold the company. So a little bit of context if you're not into that, but we sold this company, and then like 3 or 4 months later, like Elon just set up like a really bad ban for the API on Twitter. So a lot of these applications were like just turned off, right? And then that happened after I exited the company. So like I wasn't affected, but the co-founders that started it and stayed in the company, they were affected. I wasn't. And like people were telling me like, yo, great timing. Like it was good. Like, like really good plan, man. Like really good strategy. I'm like,
but when it first happened, they were like, oh my God, like why'd you only sell it for that much?
Yeah.
So it's crazy how they flipped.
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, good stuff. I'm like, dude, I had no idea that was gonna happen. Like really good planning. I'm like, thanks. You ever seen that meme, the Michael Scott meme? He's like handshaking his boss, and Michael's just like, oh, thanks, right? Like, kind of like that. It's like, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know it was gonna happen, but yeah, glad to get into any of that stuff.
So now afterwards, they did end up paying for the API, right?
Yeah. I think I don't really know the details, but I think it's like $42K a month now for the API access.
It's a lot, but do you think that's actually an advantage for them? Because it's going to be so much harder for somebody starting from scratch to get up to that level. And to my knowledge, it's really just them and Hype Fury. So like, I guess at first it was viewed as like, oh, this bad thing. And everybody was like, JK, like genius move. Like you said, you were
I'm like, thanks.
like, appreciate
Of course,
thanks.
I knew what was going to happen.
I had it planned all along. But now do you think it's actually going to be a good thing for them? If only them and one other person can actually afford to pay that each month, or no?
I don't think so. Just because, like, you set up your foundation, and we knew the risks going in. We knew what was going to happen, right? But you set up, like, your foundation is on somebody's saying, yes, you can build here, or no, you can't build here, right? So if your move is to maybe like grow the thing, and I'm like disconnected, I don't know what's going on anymore. But like if your move is to grow the thing, then yeah, it's fine. But if your move is to sell the thing, I may look at it as an investor and be like, yo, you were shut down once. What happens if they do it again? So I'm like, if they want to grow it, fine. If they want to sell it, I don't think it's the best thing. But I'm just disconnected from it, which in a way it was kind of a blessing to sell. I was like really bummed out when we, it was cool. Whatever, but it's like, could have been bigger, I was like, it could have been more, right? But then I'm like, God works in mysterious ways. He took me out of that. So I guess, you never know what happens. Curse and a blessing.
Yeah, in perspective, I mean, how old are you for the audience?
I'm 22.
22. When you sold the company, he's like, he's like, it was cool. It was all right. It was whatever. But still, it's massively impressive. So congrats on that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, just to stay on the subject real quick, if you want to give more context as to how you got involved, and then what was your day-to-day role? What was like your key responsibilities and day-to-day role with Tweet Hunter?
Yeah. So you ever watch the Avengers and Avengers 1?
Of course.
Yeah. You're not gonna make it, bro.
Wow. Just got set up.
I'm just fucking with you.
You gonna get this reference?
He was like so excited, like, yeah, where's this going? He's like,
All right, thanks for tuning in to Stick Talk. That's the episode.
I'm out.
So like there's this scene in Avengers 1 which I also enjoyed very much. It was a really cool movie.
I agree.
So I'm also not gonna make it. But there's a really cool scene where it's like Captain America is giving everybody orders, right? Like you do this, you do that, and then he points out to Hulk and he goes, Hulk, you smash.
Yeah.
Right? And Hulk just, he smashes, right? Yeah. So that was kind of my role at Tweet Hunter, just tweeting the shit out of it until people bought it. Like, honestly, I was just the reach guy.
Yep.
Because we had a product guy, really good, developer guy, really good. So what we really needed was just traffic. We needed eyeballs on it.
Yep.
So I had to like invent all these promotions and getting people in it. And the way it started actually was, it really made me realize the power of Twitter because it was a DM. He DM'd me, Tebow. He wanted me to try the product. And he gave me a code for 1 month discount. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll try it, right?
this was Tweet Hunter before it was Tweet Hunter, basically.
Yeah, that's right. That was Tweet Hunter. Because Tweet Hunter began before me. And before, it wasn't a scheduler. It was just kind of this tweet library. And right now what it does is it allows you to find all these tweets, right? And then you can get inspiration from them and you can schedule them. But before, it was just kind of this tweet library. And I got inspiration from it and he wanted me to try it. I'm like, cool. But at the time, I was ghostwriting. That's kind of like what was my first thing on Twitter. I started ghostwriting. And then I realized that I could get inspiration from it and I could do work for my clients. And I just really liked it. And at the time, SaaS was big in our space. A lot of people were starting SaaS. Daniel was starting one. What was it? Quicklines?
Malorize? Or he was doing
He started a
bunch.
few, right?
Yeah, clean
like,
leads.
yeah, clean leads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch.
And then there's that one, and then I saw another few ones, and I'm like, maybe this is the move, right? So I said like, hey, I want to partner up with you guys, right? I got the reach. You guys don't have the reach, but you got the product, so we could work something out here. And then that's kind of how it started. We really started promoting it in 2021, and then just, it just blew up, which was super cool, right? And the coolest thing about it is like the most popular features, we kind of found them by accident. Like the auto DM. You guys know the auto
invented the
DM.
auto
I was going to
Yeah.
say, I remember when you messaged me on Telegram, you were like, yo, try this real quick.
Right.
And it was like before anyone did the auto DM strategy, and it blew up. I'm pretty sure I got like 2,000 or 3,000 followers the first time I did it.
It's crazy.
And I was at like 1,000 followers. It was
It's
nuts.
like, that was an accident.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a thing. Like Tebow was testing stuff out, but that turned out to be like the most popular feature.
Yeah.
It just
Still, even now, people do it.
yeah, people do it. And when I saw it the first time, which was the funny thing, I was like, yeah, Tebow, this is never gonna work. People are gonna hate this.
Yeah.
Let's not do it. He's like, no, let's test it, right? And it turned out to be what it is today. And the really cool things that I thought were gonna be like the big things, never really caught fire. You know, like the ghostwriting functions or some of the AI functions, they didn't work as well as the like and comment, and I'll send you my link.
Yeah.
Those were the things.
Must be following.
Yeah, most.
It's the most
Yeah.
important part.
Yeah, it's really good for email subs too.
Yeah.
Like you tailor it to an opt-in and then you get it that. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back, because I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and then obviously started to know more about your work when we started working together. But you mentioned ghostwriting was your first thing. Was that your first venture in the entrepreneurship, or did you do anything before, like classic like e-com, drop shipping, or like what was like? How'd you find yourself in entrepreneurship?
I mean, bro, if you didn't go through a dropshipping phase, are you even an entrepreneur? I feel like we all watch the videos on, hey, yeah, you can, you get AliExpress and you do this shit. And it's like, yeah, but I tried it, didn't work, right? I just couldn't make it work. My first entrepreneurial venture was when I was like 6, right? So I was there were these bathrooms at my school, right? But there were those like stalls in which there's like nothing below the door, right? So like if you can like sneak in through below, you can lock it and then you can leave, and then like you can't open the door stall, right? It's like, so what I did was I realized that. So those keys, like there's like 2 types of keys, the ones that are like rigged, right? And the other ones that are like straight. On the straight ones, if you have a blade, you can put it in and you can turn it and then the door opens, right? I was like, okay, we could work something out here. Because I didn't like when people locked me out, right? Because I wasn't flexible enough to like go down there and just enter the fucking bathroom. So I went to the playground and I had these sticks and I just kind of like broke them and I used those as keys, right?
Your teachers are like, why is little JK making a shiv? Is he gonna stab somebody?
And I'm like, everybody looked at me like I was a fucking weirdo, right? Because at recess, everybody was playing soccer or whatever, and I was out there like just collecting sticks, just like going like this, right? But it turns out, right? So I'm selling these little sticks, right? But I realized that they weren't selling as well as before, like the day after. I'm like, what's going on? Turns out this one little fucker kid, what he did was he invented a black market for my sticks, right? So he had these sticks and he was using it so other dudes would open up the girls' bathroom. So he was selling us these hidden fucking keys. So that was,
Horny motherfucker.
Yeah. That's how I learned about black markets, man. Fuck.
And girls.
That too. Yeah, tell me a lot about human nature.
Yeah.
But like after that, like my first thing was in like 2017. My math teacher, watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not gonna make it.
Don't spoil it, bro. I'm still going through it. No
Actually, I don't know.
spoilers.
There might be an exception. That one.
I'm just
That one tends to be pretty well received.
so there's
Just like watching game film.
so it's this chemist teacher, right, that turns out to be a criminal with Jesse, right, his student. So my teacher was kind of this like
It's a funny
meth
description of
maker.
Breaking
not
Bad.
meth dealer, but he was a like bootleg perfume dealer.
Okay.
That's what he did. And he was making some money from it, right? And I was like, I can do this. So I actually, I went with my grandma. We bought some flowers and I planted them in my garden because they smelled like lemon. And then I let them grow over the summer. And then I like kind of squashed them, put them in alcohol, put a little bit of glycerin in it, and started selling it door to door. That was like my first thing.
So it's door to door perfume sales.
Homemade perfume.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was.
Did
that
you
was my
test it on
first thing.
yourself, or?
It was fucking horrible, dude. Like, let me tell you, man. Like, if I sprayed that perfume on you, like on your Jordans, they're white. They would never be white again. They'd just be green forever.
So what's the sales
What
pitch
about
for
skin?
that? You just knock on the door. You're like, you smell
Remember
like
the
shit,
Hulk?
man.
How he was green? That's what I do with my perfume.
Well, the sales pitch for that is I was a little kid looking for money.
Yeah.
So like people bought out of pity.
You're selling yourself, not even the product.
Yeah, that's right. Branding.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that was what planted the seed
Yeah,
for
that was
branding.
yeah. But
How'd you find Twitter?
Yeah, that was in 2020 because we were all, locked down. Like there's nothing to do, and then I'm scrolling through all these like platforms, and I found one screenshot from I think it was Chris Johnson, like
Wealth Squad.
yeah, Wealth Squad, yeah. Well, I don't think he had the Wealth Squad then.
Okay.
I think it was like trading gems or something, stock market trading. Anyway, $250K a month, and I'm like, no fucking way. Like I'm making $250 a month.
$250.
Right, he's making $250K a month. I'm like, no way, there's no fucking way this is real. So it turns out it's real, right? And I started getting into the Twitter thing, just kind of, tweeting about anything really, which just kind of trying to find my voice. And then I saw a Lawrence King tweet. So Lawrence tweeted about how Gillette has like 3 to 4 likes per post, and Gillette has 130,000 followers. And he basically said, the social media manager at Gillette is paid $80K a year. And he gets 3 likes per post. So like, what would they pay you if you didn't suck at your job?
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, that makes sense. So I started pitching others, sending DMs. And I got a few ghostwriting clients, and I took it from there. That's how it started. That was the first thing.
Did you start to grow your own brand pretty quickly? Because the worst thing ever is when a ghostwriter who with no followers reaches out. It's like, yo, let me grow your brand over 10K. You're like, dude,
But
do it
like,
yourself.
the fun thing is that at that time nobody did ghostwriting.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a thing.
It's
Yeah.
just such a good offer. Like
Yeah.
so fresh.
Like nobody. It was new.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good.
Yeah.
But it was new for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
But,
exciting.
Yeah, it's like, so this guy will grow my account. And I did have 14K when I started.
Yeah, so that's massively helpful.
Yeah.
That
So
sets you
like,
apart right away.
if a tweet didn't do well for a client,
How do you get to 14K?
you retweet it real quick.
Yeah.
Just in case. Just tweeting about anything, man. Like I started like as this like I started as a dating account. Like that was my niche first on Twitter. And then I kind of wanted to talk about growth and then kind of just self-improvement. Like if you go to my 2020 tweets, like you wouldn't find like anything related to what I talk about today. It's like I was just finding my voice because I didn't have any experience.
Yeah.
I didn't know the thing, which is why like when I see you guys' account, you guys are doing it right because like my content strategy kind of looked like this tree, like so many branches, so many things. Your content strategy, it's like this arrow, like it's all so focused. Like yours, Daniel's. Like, bro, like how did Daniel talk about cold email for like 3 straight years without like? There's only so many things you can talk about with cold email, and he's still doing it, right? I'm like,
Just getting started.
yeah, it's like, yeah, and he always finds new things, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the level of like, John Wick, focus, commitment, and sheer fucking will, like that you guys have with your content. I feel like that's a huge part of what I admire from you guys. It's just the discipline and the consistency to stay in one thing. And because you stayed in that one thing, like, people who follow you, they gotta be interested in cold email at least, at
You build
some
up goodwill.
level. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's like authority.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you join Client Ascension? It's like, dude, because we're doing it for 3 fucking years.
Yeah, and you
right?
could see it right here.
Yeah, like you want some proof? Google, look it up. It's there. 3 years of proof. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your first language isn't English, right?
It's Spanish.
Okay, so you kind of went from selling sticks in the school to
The way he said that.
to writing tweets for people in English. Like, where did you learn English in high school as like a forced thing? Did you pick it up on your own? How did you go about learning English and becoming proficient enough in it to write tweets for other people?
Yeah, that was like shout out to my parents. They really paid a sacrifice there, man. Because when I was like 11 or 12, they paid for me to come to America for a month, to Orlando, actually. So I studied in an American school for a month, and I really learned, right, like slang, little nuances
Like,
to the language.
Some kid's like, hey man, you say fuck and see what the teacher says.
I was like, no, that's wrong, right? I can't say it, right? But yeah, so that and they really made an effort, dude. Like at the dinner table, they would speak English, right? And even though they had broken English, they would like make a big effort. And then our movies, because we bought all these pirated movies, right? But like only subtitles. Like they had to be English with subtitles.
Which
right?
movies?
It's like Avengers.
I'm not gonna make it.
Cool.
It's just I don't know, whatever wasn't.
So you discovered Twitter in Guatemala?
I did. Yeah, I was locked down. Like one of the biggest blessings, man. Like a lot of people say like, oh yeah, it was really bad. To me, and maybe you guys can relate to this. It was like one of the best things that have ever happened to me. It's great because then you had nothing else to do but sit down and work.
Yep.
That's the only thing you could do.
It happened at such a fortunate time for like most people that we've talked to who are like around our age, because we're already in school, or around that age where you kind of need to figure out what you want to do with your life, and you're just forced to sit and think and think and think and think and think. And like if you are interested in the internet and making money, like you were just exposed and had all this time to really, really dive into.
It's like a Friday night, and you're not like FOMO. Everyone else is out. You're just like, oh,
everyone else is stuck inside too.
Stuck inside watching.
Yeah, if anything, you get FOMO because everybody's making more money than you online, and now it's clearer. Like you can see it. So like there was nothing else to do. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. So let's just do it. Actually, let me ask you guys, what got you guys into Twitter?
I think for me it was I was playing a golf round with Nick Rogers, who you might know from Twitter. He runs Launch Socials with Logue Fits. And we were golfing, and Christian and I were doing, what were we doing at the time? Lead gen? Through cold email? We were doing cold email, and then he's like, you should follow this cold email wizard guy on
I think
Twitter.
we were doing the coaching offer then. That's how we learned cold email was Daniel.
Yeah, so Nick Rogers told us about cold email, and then he's like, there's this guy on Twitter that talks about cold email, and then that's when we found Daniel, immediately bought Cold Email Mastery, learned how to do cold email the right way, used it to grow our business, ended up partnering with him on the business, and just grew our Twitter along the way.
Dude, that's crazy. The fact that you met somebody on Twitter and you're like, let's just move to the same building, right? And build this huge business.
Not a person, a wizard. Just so you're clear.
He's a fucking wizard.
Yeah, thanks.
He's a wizard.
We actually didn't move. we didn't move like to live in the same building as him at first because he was living in Miami at the time.
Yeah.
We moved down to Tampa.
Well, we moved because that was part of the decision, and then he just decided to leave to Miami right when we were moving down.
I thought we already knew he was moving to Miami before that.
Like after we decided. He wasn't there when we moved, but he was like, it was weird timeline. But it was definitely part of the reason we wanted to move was because Daniel was down there. And then he decided to go to Miami.
I didn't know you met on Twitter.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah,
you met before.
Daniel had a group way back, and Andre was like he gave it a lot of value in the group, and Daniel caught on. And
that was really it. We found Daniel on Twitter, bought all of his products right away, went through all of them, and then joined a group with other guys that bought his products and just kind of shared what we learned as a group. And he saw that.
How about cold email? What got you into cold email?
Podcasting.
I would say Daniel did. Like inadvertently, we ran a podcast and would land guests by sending emails and DMs. So we started doing it in college without even realizing what cold email was, just to land people for our podcast. And then we were running a coaching offer that wasn't really getting much traction, and learned about cold email, pivoted our entire business to it, and that's kind of been it. Because at the time, it was like the short form content offer where everyone's starting a cold email agency, right? It's like the hot new thing. And there was like a class of kids, like a graduating class of people that did cold email, and we were
None of them graduated.
None of them.
I was gonna say there was like 100. Now there's like
through.
3 that are still around.
Yeah, so we just kind of stuck with it. Like I like the writing side of it. Andre likes the fulfillment side of it, I guess, and Dan's good at selling it. So we just kind of stuck around.
It's fire.
Yeah.
It's fire.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was comfortable too because me and Andre had worked at a lead generation agency, end of high school, beginning of college. So we knew all about like setting appointments, getting compensated when you set an appointment, and just like having an agency relationship. So when Nick or Daniel or whoever brought it up at first, it wasn't like foreign. Like it made perfect sense. It was just like,
we were just doing it on LinkedIn more than email.
We had just done it through cold calling, where it was all like manual, like regular SDR, BDR type work. Whereas it was like, oh, let's just do it only through cold emails, so you can actually, not be limited to only reaching out to like 100 people a day, then getting burnt out. You can just reach thousands.
I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember like Cold Email Mastery came out, and then I think you partner up with Daniel and you launched The Vault.
The Vault.
Was it The Vault?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things, but I was curious, like how did the client ascension idea came to be?
Yeah. So basically, we partnered with Daniel on The Vault, which was an info product for like, I think we started it at like $79. I remember sitting at dinner and like Daniel sent me like a Google spreadsheet of like the sales, like right when we launched it. And I've never sold an info product before. We were not making a whole lot of money, like a couple grand a month, maybe from the agency. And he sent me the spreadsheet and it went live. And I just refreshed it at dinner and it was just like sale after sale after sale. We did like 100K in the first 30 days. Like blew our mind. It was nuts. So we flew down to Tampa. Daniel wrote me a check for 50% or whatever. And that was it. That was the start of the partnership. So we're like, oh my God, this is like, we struck gold. Let's do it again. We have more and more product ideas. The Vault was like a collection of cold emails that got results. The next product idea was going to be the Vault, but for sales calls that closed. And then Daniel's like, nah, screw this. Like, we're not going to do low ticket info products anymore. We need to go high ticket. Everyone's going high ticket. And so we're like, we know how to do high ticket because for 2 years we ran a coaching program we ran a business that helped other coaching programs go to market. So we had a lot of knowledge around how coaching businesses were supposed to work and be operated. And so we just partnered on it. And originally, I was telling Scott this the other day, and it's just like with Tweet Hunter. Like at first, you think this is the best idea, and then later on, it changes so much. But Client Ascension started as a coaching program to teach people how to run a cold email lead generation agency, like super niche specific. And now, obviously, as you know, it's just a coaching program for agency owners. And so it's changed a lot, but that was how we got started.
Interesting. What made you decide to go against the Vault for calls that are closed?
What do you mean? Oh, going against it? It was just Daniel didn't want to do another info product.
Oh, okay.
He's like, if we're going to get people to buy from us again, let's just make it high ticket because I don't want to sell 100 of these.
Yeah, because it's also like, okay, we did 100K. For us, it was like, oh, dude, let's do it again. Let's do it again. For Daniel, it was like, okay, he had already done it a few times. So he's like, okay, we have the same exact output. We're going to make another 100K, then it's kind of gone. And there's only so many products that he can come up with because for us, it's our first one. For him, that's like his third or fourth. So he's like, okay, he wants to get into something that's a bit more high ticket, that's a bit recurring. And when he said it, it clicked for us because like Andre said, we had a marketing agency that helped people build out high ticket group coaching programs before we ever started KnowledgeX. It's not something that we talk about a ton, but we already had that experience. And that's another reason why we probably lasted most of the people who were in like our same like Twitter class, quote unquote, because we already had a business that we ran and then shut down, but like had, that real life experience of dealing with clients before we ever even started KnowledgeX. And because it was high ticket group coaching or helping people with that, it was very easy for us to like come up with the curriculum and understand like what tools need to be like within probably like a month. It was launched and we were, taking sales calls and all the content was recorded. So it came together very quickly when he made the suggestion.
I love that. It's the other day I watched the Hormozi video. He said that people who experience lots of success fast, quote unquote, because it's never really fast. It took you guys fucking years, right, to get to the skills that you needed to develop that.
The success part of it looked like it was fast.
To make the dashboard screenshot appear fast. You know what I mean? Yeah, because the skills that led to the dashboard screenshots, that shit wasn't fast. It takes a lot. But like it's always kind of this same pattern. It's like some group of people or one person that builds these skills, and then it's like there's links in a chain, right? Like you have a few links in a chain and you have like a massive chain, but you don't have that one link that can link to the other part of it. But that when you have that missing link, which is the opportunity, which was maybe Client Ascension for you guys, it's just that one thing. And because you already developed all the skills, your training is so much longer and stronger.
Yeah. You're ready for it.
It's like rungs in a ladder. Like you had the whole thing, but you were missing one rung. But when you filled it in, it's like the ladder's already built. Right? You can just
hockey stick, girl.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just really go. You guys are doing some really, really good work there. I was telling Dan this, guys. Sometimes I'm looking at Client Ascension people, like they post about, I just joined, this is such a cool program, or they'll engage with your posts. And I'm like, man, this guy sometimes it made me feel so fucking insecure. Because it's so good. You know, like people love your thing. I'm like, man, like at the beginning kind of like felt like, oh man, like I felt bad, but then I was like, no, like what can I learn from these guys? So just like from the Twitter community, I feel like you guys with Daniel too, because he's not here, right? But like you guys have done so much for a little Twitter sphere, a little corner of Twitter. I feel like people don't talk about that enough. So it's really cool to see what you guys have built.
Appreciate it.
I really like that. Yeah.
Well, you sold the software, and we've been trying to build the software for 2 years.
Yeah, we've got something to learn.
Goes
from you.
both ways.
Is that like
List kit.
is that rolled out?
Not
or
yet.
You
It's
still
close.
trying to?
Very
Every
much
time
in
we're
play.
asked about it, it's like, it's close. It's like, what does that even mean at this point? Nothing.
That's tomorrow.
yeah, no, but it should, honestly, like today we had a call. I think we'll be able to launch in May, finally. But like Christian said, like you've done something that so many guys in the space, actually not so many guys in the space. Everyone that goes into business has one goal, one day, which is to sell their business. Like, let's be honest, right? You don't go into business to just have fun and help people only. You want to eventually sell and turn a profit and make money. And so you're able to do that. And so I'm curious to get into like the nitty gritty of that for just a second, is like, talk to people out there that have a company right now and they want to sell it. Like, what are some things that they should focus on? Like, if you were to go back into Tweet Hunter, like what were the most important areas of the business that you'd focus on to make sure that your business is worthy of a high multiple exit?
Yeah, there were a few things, and I wasn't the best at this, but I'll try to go with like one overlaying advice that really really helped me, and then we can go into like the nitty gritty. Yeah. But the first one is build it like you're gonna sell it, but also understand that when you get there, you won't want to sell it, because like you gotta build it like you want to sell it because it puts you in the right mindset of systems and operation and it running without you, but like, I felt like, dude, like, you know, the finite game versus infinite game thing? Yeah. Like, I was growing Tweet Hunter, I was kind of playing the finite game because I thought that when I sold it, I was like, gonna get a medal, right? It's like, oh, yeah, you did it. Great. You won the game. Like, you don't win business. Like, you keep playing business. So I actually, before Tweet Hunter, I wanted to really just sell it because I wanted that like little batch, right? But now it's like, I don't want to sell businesses anymore. I want to just grow it to the most I can. If it sells or not, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I don't want to make the same, I don't want to call it mistake, but selling myself short again. Well, that's one. The second one was, I didn't understand churn. Churn was such a big aspect of the value of a company. I didn't understand it. At some point, Thibaut told me, bro, we are getting too many customers. Can you stop doing marketing?
You're like, what?
I'm like, the fuck? It's like, no, I cannot. It's like, no, yeah. It's like, why? Because he says that if not, we won't be able to maintain churn stable. And investors are not so much interested in spikes. They're more, or like people who can buy your stuff, they're not so much interested in spikes, but in seeing consistent growth. And if you have just one killer month, maybe. That was our experience. It was hard to replicate it if it was like too good. I was like, we couldn't do it again because maybe it was, I don't know, a Black Friday sale, right? Like, it's hard to repeat, right? So that was one. So like understanding churn and knowing that you have to retain the people. Like, acquisition ain't retention. You know, you gotta keep the people in. And the second one was, at some point in the game becomes how to get more people. But I feel like people don't talk about the second half of the game, which is how to make every customer worth more, right? Which I saw a Daniel video on it the other day. Yeah, like Ascension, just improving LTV, getting people to stay for longer, cross-sells, upsells, all that stuff. Because it's like, I think Daniel said this on a short, not sure, but he's like, if you're not cool, you don't get into Client Ascension. Like he said something.
He doesn't actually mean that. No, I'm kidding.
It's like we gotta go along because then you'll enjoy it and it'll be just a higher experience for everybody.
Yeah.
You know. So it's like, it was just not focusing on the right people in the beginning that maybe hurt churn at some point. But now the game wasn't just getting more people, and I failed to understand the second part of the equation, which was you got to make every customer worth more at some point, or like have some system in place so you can cross-sell, upsell, retain them, do something so that they will be worth more. And those two really grow the company. And I feel like our Twitter space sometimes only focuses on acquisition, not so much on ascension.
Well, you just get caught up in it, right? Because in the very early stages, it's all that matters. Like, why build a product if no one's going to buy it?
Yeah, in the beginning, like that's all you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But that's like, and I had this from a mentor that it hit me, man. It hit me. Like he said, you're trying to build an 8-figure business with 5-figure habits. Like, oh, fuck.
Damn.
You're right. So like, just trying to get more. And at some point, I feel like you grow by doing less, by focusing, and like, you got to slow down and see how can you like really nail a plan that it might take you longer, but at least you know it's the right plan. Because in the beginning, I feel like at least this was like true for me. I got from 0 to 6 figures by doing more, but I got from 6 to 7 by doing less, but doing it better.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had to relearn a lot of the habits and traits that took me to that first phase in order to get to the second level of that third phase.
Yeah. So talk about the pivot from selling a SaaS business to then what do you do after a sale, right? Because there's always a conversation. It's like, oh, what would you if your business sold tomorrow? Like, what would you do the next day? And a lot of people are like, oh, I'd continue working. Or some people are like, I'd go and take a vacation and fuck off for a while. Like, what was that like for you? You sold the business, money's wired to your account. Do you go back in business right away? Do you build another software? Do you try to build a competitor? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, so I did sign a non-compete, so I couldn't build a competitor, but I didn't feel it, honestly. Like, to me, like, there were 3 big moments on the Tweet Hunter thing. First one was when the contract was signed. Second one was when the money hit the bank account. And the third one was 6 months after, because that was when I could announce it. Because I couldn't announce it when we sold. I had to wait a little bit. But the least significant, and the one I thought was going to be the most significant, was when the money hit. Because I got it, and I'm like, because I didn't, at some point you're not in business to make money. You're just in business to win. You just want to win. You just want to keep going. See, we all in the beginning were like, man, if I could hit 10K a month, like that'd be it for me. Like, I just want that. And then you hit that, and it's like another one. And at some point, you become desensitized to the number, and you become more like sensitive. It's more important to win than to make money. And so when the money hit, I didn't really feel it. I felt it when it was announced. And I thought I was going to take a vacation, right? But that lasted 2 days. Because what else are you going to do, right? Like, are you going to stop building businesses? Right? It's fun. Like, the game we're playing, it's fun. And it gets into, like, more, like, philosophical stuff. Because people will ask me, like, Jacob, what's your why? Like, why do you do this? What's the big purpose behind this? And to me, there was never a why. It was more of a why not? Why not build a big business? Why not do more things? Why not try something else? And when I sold it, I was like, yeah, there's no reason not to keep going. So just,
Keep going.
I woke up.
Yep.
I had my coffee, and I started fucking working. And now I changed my routine since I'm in America. I woke up. I took a Zen pouch.
There you go. Let's go.
And I started working.
Love it, bro.
Dude, I love those things.
That's funny.
Oh, what flavor? It's a smooth flavor. It's the gray one. Those are the best. Shout out Dan Coe. He's the one that introduced me to the Zins because we moved to Austin together. But he takes 6 milligrams. 6 milligrams to me is like suicide. It's too much.
That's the only way to go.
I'm sorry, bro, but like you don't have sensitivity to substances. Andrew drinks like a double espresso before bed. He told us this, right? And he's still working fine. I don't know how you do it. I'm like 2 milligrams or 3 milligrams. And that's like
That's
it.
enough.
Sorry,
I'm the same way.
I need more tolerance. Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Let's go. Nicotine desensitivity or no? Oversensitivity. Anyways, I want to get into, so you were kind of mentioning how it stops becoming about the money at a certain point, but correct me if I'm over or out of line here, but I assume, $1,000 goes a lot further in Guatemala than it does in America.
1,000%. Yeah.
Right. So I assume when you were first starting out in business, like that $500 retainer, that $1,000 retainer was like a life changer for you compared to what it would be here. And now you're saying how the money doesn't really affect you or move the needle for you as much. So how is your relationship and thoughts on money changed since you started in Guatemala and to where you are now?
Yeah, it's in the beginning. That's a hard topic to talk about sometimes, because it's like, to me, like truly, when I got to 5K, I remember I was like in my house, like I climbed to the roof, and I was like, man, I made it. When I saw the screenshot of 5K a month, I was like, man, I made it. And my lifestyle, like, I don't spend more than like 3K a month, 4K a month. So it hasn't really changed. I don't want to say it's a disrespect for money, but it's certainly, I don't check, right? So to me, it doesn't really make a marginal difference. What I will spend a lot of money on, I will say, it's I like to travel.
Yep.
And I like some good food. I'll tell you that much. I'll buy the best food. I'm not gonna make it, but I'm an Uber Eats just aficionado. I love that thing. It's so convenient. And just like the main thing was, to me, like taking care of my family. That was a big one. Actually, it allowed me to do some cool things. I actually learned this from Lawrence King. Maybe if anybody's listening, you guys can take some value from it. But he said that with his dad, he gives him an allowance every month, but he gives him double if he works out 3 times a week. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I implemented that. And now with my grandma, like I'll do that. And it's more of a, I always wanted, like I had that like desire in me. I wanted to feel important. I wanted people to like depend on me. I didn't want to be like a load, like a heavy load or just dead weight for them. So to me, like being able to like be kind of in a way dangerous for them, like and help them achieve whatever they want to do. Like to me, that's big. That being said, I don't spend that much. So maybe like 5K a month total for everything I want to do, because it really is very cheap.
Where are you living right now? Or are you just traveling all over?
I'm in Guatemala, but I'm looking for another base, because Guatemala is not, I mean, it's kind of safe, but it's not walkable. And walking is just such a huge part of, and it might sound like bullshit, but it's such a huge part of online business, bro. Like you're struggling with something, go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
It's solved in one walk, right? And then it's like walking makes you money. Like nobody talked about this, right? Like it was so big for me. So I'm thinking, where can I walk that I really, really enjoy? So I'm looking for another home base, I wanted it to be Austin last year. When I moved to Austin, it was too much stimulus, right? The place I come from is just, there's not much going on in Guatemala. So I'm like, I want a place that's pretty, that's very walkable, not much goes on. So I went to Poland, and I'm like, I'm not going to go to the biggest city in Poland, because then I might run into the Austin problem. I'm not going to go to the second biggest city in Poland, but I'll go to the third biggest city in Poland. So that's where I'm looking maybe to move down there sometime, and we'll see what happens.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
What's the weather like in Poland?
Fucking cold.
I was gonna say it's probably really cold.
But not now though. In the summer it's good. But I actually like having the seasons. Like I actually like having like, I kind of live my day like in seasons. So in the beginning it's like spring. So what you do in spring is you like plant seeds for the future. So for me, I just start my day in the early morning. I like to create content and do things that will pay out, but not today. I'll see them, harvest sometime later. Then it's after spring, it's summer. Summer is when you really work hard, but then you do more of menial tasks. You do more like emails and just responding to people and that kind of stuff. But it's not something that will compound, right? And fall is kind of where you rest, right? And then as you see what's up, maybe you plan a little bit. And then in winter, it's kind of when everything's dark and you're closing out. And that's kind of how I live my day. I start like that. And now I'm thinking maybe that's going to be a good way to live my year. As in like spring, I plan things, right? And then in summer, I work. And then during those seasons of fall and winter, which by the way, working and walking on winter in Poland is just no. Like it's way too cold.
It's not happening.
It's not
All the
happening.
people from New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio are like rolling their eyes right now. They're like, nah, seasons are overrated.
Yeah.
It's all about where you grow up from. You want to change.
They're going to be like,
naturally.
what's up with this? Does this guy bring a guy that's not taking 6 milligrams Zins? He can't drink coffee. He doesn't take the cold. What's wrong with him, right?
He got muscled out of his
Yeah,
stick
like
business.
what's wrong with this dude? But yeah, that's kind of how I want to live it. But that's probably Poland sometime. But
That's exciting.
keep you
love it.
updated on that.
You got like a lot of frameworks and philosophy to the way that you do things. You name dropped Hormozy, and we've talked about a few other influencers in the space as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're really well studied, well read. Who are some of the guys that you look up to and are trying to model after like today, going forward?
One of the biggest guys is this dude in Twitter, Lobo, El Lobo Salvaje, and it's just because he like embodies the warrior like philosopher mentality, right? You got to be able to like train everything, like be good at everything. So I really like that. It's also been what I like about his stuff is it's very practical. Like he introduced me to this Helm of Awe thing. So the Helm of Awe, it's like this Viking symbol or Nordic symbol. Don't quote me on that. But essentially, it's like this shield that's made up of 8 spears, right? And what it wants to entail is that it's a shield made of spears. Shield is a defensive object, but spears are offensive object. But it shows that offense is the best defense. As in, like, you don't have a good month? Well, just send more fucking cold emails.
Yeah.
Right? You're not doing good on your sales call, take more sales call, read more stuff, do more things,
Do
right?
more.
As in, like, if something's going wrong, like, you could take the defensive approach and, like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable, I need some space. Or you could just fix what is broken, right? And do the thing. So that's been very, very good for me. He introduced me to Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training Jiu-Jitsu for around 6 months now.
Nice.
Still suck at it, right? But it's fun, right? It teaches
It's
you.
good though. It's fun just sucking at something again. It's
Oh
humbling.
yeah, it's so humbling. Like I remember first time. Oh my god! So in Austin, right? I was going to my jiu-jitsu class, and if you don't know, in Austin, the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world are in Austin. It's the Hands of Gracie team, the New Wave Jiu-Jitsu team. And you know what's crazy is that let's say you wanted to really get like elite at basketball. You can't just pay for a private class with LeBron James. You can't do that. It's unobtainable. But you can pay for a class with like the LeBron James of jiu-jitsu because the sport is so underdeveloped, right? And that is another
That's
thing
cool.
I pay money, I pay good money for, which is just these access, you know, and you do that too, right? Like you really good access to people that set you like years ahead that can help you out. So I did that, and I went to the gym with the best guys. And I remember at the end of every jiu-jitsu class, and by the way, I didn't mention I was a white belt, right? Because I was afraid they wouldn't let me train, right? I was like, I really wanted the experience. I wanted to see what's up. And there's this, at the end of the class, the master, John Danaher, goes, well, everybody pick a sparring partner. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna look for my sparring partner. But you know how the guys that don't know how to fight are the ones that think they can fight the most? It's like, yeah, bro, I go crazy. Like, I'll kill them, right? It's just like I was one of them, right? And then I go to the sparring class, and there's just this one lady. She's like 40 or 50, like this tall, super skinny, right? She's like, would you like to spar? And I'm like, psh, be careful, right? Come on, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm dangerous. I'm dangerous, bro. I watch the UFC. Don't worry about it. It's like, anyway, we start fighting, guys. I close my eyes and I'm here. I close my eyes and I'm there. I close my eyes, she's behind me. And I'm just freaking out because she understood I was a white belt. So she was trying to give me advice while she was trying to submit me. So imagine you have this lady in front and then you close your eyes, she's behind you. And she just goes into your ear like, control your breathing.
It's like Yoda.
Don't rush in. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? We sparred for 3 minutes. She submitted me 7 times in 3 minutes. And submitted me like, she made me give up 7 times in 3 minutes. And I'm like, what are the most humbling experiences of my life, right? And it's like, every time I went to a class for the next few weeks, like, she'd be in one corner, I'd be in the other corner. I'm like,
So far away from her.
this. It's not gonna happen again. But yeah, like all these lessons, jiu-jitsu, philosophy, like I didn't know cold email was a thing. Like I didn't know it existed. Like I get introduced to these things, and even though like I'm not gonna dedicate my stuff to cold email or jiu-jitsu or philosophy, I learned it from Twitter, right? So like sometimes it's hard to explain. I don't know if you guys find this, but it's like hard to explain to others the benefit of Twitter. It's like, yeah, we're some bros that we kind of log in every day and we make money and we learn from each other, but we don't really know each other. And there's this one dude that's the cold email wizard. it's hard to explain, but it's just such a cool
It's
thing.
so funny when you get on sales calls and they don't know who Daniel is. Like they come in through Andre or just randomly they're reached through cold outreach or whatever. It's like, yeah, you probably know Daniel, cold email wizard. And they just, if they don't, they look at you like, what'd you just call your business partner a wizard?
Wizard.
Is that like a kinky name or something?
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
What's going on?
I wonder if he'll ever change it or if he's going to be like a 55-year-old wizard.
Maybe he does have another one. He has cold email wizard. He has a personal one, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he stopped.
Yeah, I don't
dropped
think he
that
posts
off.
on that at all.
What I'm interested in, JK, is like you've been on Twitter now for 3 years. Like, how has your content strategy or approach to using the platform changed from when you first got on there to now?
Oh, I think about that every day, dude, because it's there's always this discrepancy, right? Or like this two things that I want to do. I want to grow the business, right? And I want to make money. Then there's the other side that it's like I also want to build like a really, really powerful brand, and I do believe that asking sometimes like decreases your goodwill. So I'm like, how do you find
The balance.
the balance between that? So it's really hard for me. Like my thing is I just want to document how to build like really good, powerful brands. Like that is my thing because it really excites me. Like having a brand that, like those powerful brands that you just tweet something and you're like, man, like I just feel this, right? Like what Lobo is for me and maybe what somebody else is for you guys. I want that. And I'm trying to find because like naturally, like just being real, like naturally I was never like the cool kid in school. Like if you were to like talk to my friends in high school, like what was JK like? Like cool wouldn't be the adjective used to describe me, right? So I'm like, how do you have that power, that influence? I really want to learn that. So for me, my thing is, and learning it from you as well, it's kind of the strategy of like the truism I landed in. It's like I call it content sharpness, right? So it's like you have this blade, right? And you could do two things to the blade. You could hit, and you have a rock, you could hit it on the thing, like on the sharp side, and it would be a dull blade, like it wouldn't work. Whereas that same rock, what it can do is you can pull it across it, and then it would sharpen it, right? So for me, I think in the beginning, I used to just hit it and just talk about anything, and it wasn't aligned with the blade or what I wanted to do. But now it's like I want to like really use my content and talk in one direction to be like really sharp in one thing. So before I used to talk about and claim that I was good at 10 things. I'm like, now I claim that I'm bad at 9, but I'm like really good at one. So to me, that's the main thing. It's content alignment, not talking about anything, but doing one thing in one direction. So that's the main change.
So how do you sit down and formulate consistent ideas on one topic? Because it's not really a struggle for me, just because I'm
Because he uses ChatGPT.
engulfed in
don't let him.
ChatGPT, plagiarize tweets from, and it makes it really easy. No, but how do you come up with consistent, valuable content on the same topic? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with, I've said all I can say about this. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Like I know you did in Client Ascension, you did a call where you're like, I looked up my old tweet with 500 likes and just retweeted it with a slight tweak, and it did really well again. Like, how can people come up with consistent content ideas, and how can they continue to have a flywheel of stuff that they never run out of ammunition for?
Yeah. And actually what I talked about then, I've changed my perspective a little bit now. So that's interesting. So the way I think about it, it's like, I don't reinvent formats, but I kind of I don't reinvent gifts, I reinvent wrappings. So for example, let's say you have kind of this car, right? And then I see myself as this paint shop, and then car comes in, it goes through my paint shop, it comes from a different color. So I do it the same way. So I take car, a car could be a tweet that's already performed well, something that's already viral. And, I don't really need to say it, like I don't really need to reinvent that because I know the car works. So I put it through the paint shop, and then I try to paint it as in like, how would I relate this to likes and cash? How would I relate this to my target audience? I have like the person I'm writing for in mind. I'm like, how can I make it relevant to them? So the gift is the same, but I change the color of the car and I reinvent it. So I see a viral tweet, I pass it through I don't really create content, I filter content. So the filter is, how can I make this relevant to my audience? How can I paint it to people who follow me? And then it comes out as something that's engaging, but it has my scent on it. It has my print on it. So that's kind of how I think of it. So I don't know. Let's make an example. Let's do an example. Let's say you follow fitness accounts, right? And the fitness accounts talk about top 10 mistakes that people make when they trying to cut weight, right? It's like top 10 mistakes people make in cold email, top 10 mistakes people make in their subject lines, steal these 10 subject lines, or I don't know, like top 10 fitness myths, top 10 cold email myths, and you kind of paint it a different way. And that's kind of how I create content. I take people's cars, but I paint them and I come up with something that's kind of the same, but it's a different shade.
So it's like a framework that you've seen work and you just apply your own body of knowledge to it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. It's also like what I do in my day to day. Like I learned this from Leila Hormozi. She's like, what do you talk about? And because she said she struggles with content sometimes. So maybe this could be helpful to you. She says, I just look at my calendar. What did I talk about in my calls this week? Mm-hmm. And then, you know how sometimes you're on a Zoom call and then you're like, you say something and you're like in the back of your head, that was fire. That was fire. That was good. Yeah, like I should raise my prices. That should be a tweet.
Yeah.
Right, like doing things. And I feel like
doing things
this,
gives you
this is weird.
content.
This is hard to explain, but like I think people can feel when a tweet comes from wanting a tweet to do well and when a tweet comes from you actually experiencing the thing. Yeah. I don't. It's kind of this spiritual thing. I don't know how it works, but I do believe people can feel it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Like my most viral tweet, I don't know if you saw it, but we were here like a month or two ago, and I was just sitting at dinner, waiting for dinner with my grandpa, who I haven't seen in a while. And like he's one of my influences, or one of the top influences in my life, like someone I look up to. And I was just looking at him sit there on his flip phone because he's got a flip phone. Super successful guy.
Based.
Multi-millionaire, sold a ton of companies, has a huge family, whatever. So I just took a picture of him and like wrote why look at this guy as like a successful guy. Super organic thought. And it got over 20 million views on Twitter, like just completely organically overnight.
You interviewed him after, right?
Yeah, we interviewed him right outside.
That was so cool.
It was cool. So
I like that, man.
Just stuff like that.
I will say one thing. When we met last year, I was like, so to me, it was really cool to see like how focused you are on your family. You talk about family so much, and I'm like, man, this guy gets it. You know, it's like so it's really cool to see too.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I feel that with you as well. Like you mentioned going around the streets of Miami with your dad earlier, and then I watched your YouTube video when you talked about the Tweet Hunter sale, like going to tell your mom about it, and how that was just all you wanted to do is just tell your mom, I sold the company, I sold my business. Like that's so cool, man. And supporting your family, you talked about that as well. That's like Nick Rogers. We talk about that the same thing all the time too. Just like family is just like the centerpiece to everything that we're trying to build. So is your family involved in business at all with you, or you kind of keep them out of it?
I try to keep them away from it. Really, I like to do my own thing. All of my business partners are on Twitter. How about you?
Yeah, pretty well. We're cousins. Actually.
We grew up together.
No way.
Yeah.
Really? You guys knew this?
Our moms are sisters, but his pops is Lebanese. My dad was Irish, so look.
That's where the difference comes from.
That's where the fork in the road started.
Wait, you don't think we look alike? I'm a little bit bigger than him, but that's about it.
Dude, we went to like literally been best friends since like we were out the womb.
That's cool.
Played sports together, went to school together. But like it was funny. Like every now and then, Andre will tweet it. Like expense files 2017. Like we have all these fucking business ideas that have been written out from like 2015, 2016. Like all these different apps that we wanted to start just because like our grandpa is our role model and he's the most successful person in the family and he grinded for 40 years, didn't really see any crazy transformational wealth, and then became a millionaire into his 50s because he started a coupon book company. So we've always been like thinking of ideas, and the way he ran it was with his son, well, two of his sons, his daughter. So we've always been like not only interested in entrepreneurship, but like family entrepreneurship has always been something that we're always like, that's the goal.
Since like your grandpa is like very well versed in business, what has he taught you guys about money that you like really treasure and be like, yo, this is like really useful and good?
Yeah, biggest thing that I learned from him, and my dad's the same way. My dad was moved here from Lebanon when he was young, super successful in business. And they'll both tell you the same thing. And he told me it right out there, actually. He's like, this house is great, but like, it's not about the house. Like, if you bought that house over there and it was just you sitting there, you wouldn't enjoy it. It's about the people around you that you can enjoy it with. And like, that's all that I care about at this point. It's not like all about the money, but it's more about the people. And it's funny because my grandpa's favorite movie that he put me on to is It's a Wonderful Life. And the whole movie is about like how this guy's like just chasing money and he's all worried about money. And he's about to get arrested because he owes like $5,000 to the bank. And he's scared and his life is over. And then all the guys in the community hear about it. And they all come and show up at Christmas and donate the money so that he gets bailed out. And it's because he has the people. That's what's worth all the money. It's not about the $5,000. It's about the 5,000 friends that he's established goodwill with.
Oh, that's nice.
And so it's all about the people.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's even though we grew up well, money was never really talked about. Like I would say my family in particular wasn't like multimillionaire or anything crazy like that. My dad, like looking back on it, made probably like, I don't know, like 200 grand, like had like 7 kids. So big family, like nothing crazy, but he never once talked about money ever. Like I didn't know how much money he made until he passed away. And I was able to like look at the books in his business and whatnot. But basically all he would ever say is like, you need to work hard enough to take care of your people. That's it. So like take care of your people and do it in an honest way. So that was all he ever talked about when it pertains to money is like you do it for the right purpose. And like you don't scam anyone. Like you do it in the right way for the right purpose. And that's really it. So like very like family and I'd say religious focused as opposed to money, even though we had like entrepreneurs in the family. Like nobody's like really like the Bobby Axelrod from Billions type where it's like a shark and like they're super aggressive. It's just not really like the vibe that we got from having business people in the family.
So I can't really talk about this with like my friends in Guatemala. So I'll ask you guys. So you obviously have, Client Extension is not a small business, right? It's doing pretty well. How do you balance that? Like money's not the main thing, but also having like that drive to like, hey, let's grow this thing.
Yeah, well, I think money is just the natural outcome of helping more people. And it's also the tool to help more people. And so like with Client Ascension, like, yeah, it's a huge business. And the amount of money that's in our bank account or the amount of money that we're outputting every single month is an indicator of how many people we're able to help. And so going back to like what we were saying earlier is like, how do you balance like putting out good content and then also like asking for things or selling things? The thing with like Client Ascension is I think we've found a really good product that people actually like and enjoy and get a great experience with, that for us to sell it is actually what's building our brand, because we sell it to someone and then they go and talk about it in a way that gets other people interested or validates it to other people. And on the flip side, it's like the money in our bank account is just really a scoreboard for how many people have we helped. And then because there's more money in the bank account, it's a tool to say, let's put this back in the business and scale ad spend or hire more salespeople or hire more appointment setters so that we can help more and more people, or hire more coaches, hire more CSMs, invest in software, just things that are going to improve the overall experience. It's just a tool is how I look at it personally.
That's so refreshing to hear, because I was of the mindset of like the business only exists there to like make money, but the decisions you make from the mindset of I want to make more money to I want to help more people are completely different. Like those are two very different like frames of decision making. And when you make the decisions from I want to help more people, you make more money. You don't look like a dick.
Yeah,
you're like your business is so much better. And that was like so hard to understand. That took me like 3 years, and I'm still like struggling with it sometimes.
I'd say admittedly,
cool.
I'm still like at the phase where money's not just numbers on a screen. Like I don't have a house yet. My mom still works, so it'd be great to retire her. Like I get what you guys are saying 100%. And everything, like you said, needs to be done in order to help more people, because that's how you're going to make more money. But I also act in a way to help more people because I know it's going to make more money, right? So it's like one feeds in the other. And I want to say I'm in like the phase yet personally where it's like, oh, it's just like numbers on a screen. Like it's still like quite important.
I see. Well, would you say it's fair to say that it's people treat it as an or, but you see it as an and? Like it's like you got to help them. It's
Oh, it's
either
definitely-
you
it's definitely an
grow
and.
the business by trying to make more money, or you're trying to business for helping more people. But it's just like, no, it's
definitely an
gotta
and
do
if
both.
it ever gets to a point where it's like, or you have to choose out more people, right? Especially when you're this young, because if you go for the, hey, like, okay, now it's an or situation and I can help more people or make more money, most young people are going to take the short-term cash grab and they're going to fuck themselves over because they have a 50-year career ahead of them where they just tarnish their reputation.
Right.
So I'd say absolutely right now it's like we're blessed because it's an and situation. But if it ever gets to an or, like this is a good example with like ListKit. Like the reason we've been sitting on it for so long is because it's not up to our personal standards yet, right? So we want to wait until it's up to our personal standards because that's what's going to help more people, even if we have to burn more cash until it gets to that point, right? So right now it's like, hey, we're acting in the mindset we want to help more people, not just make more money with this specific business. So if it's an or situation, I say you always go in to help more people. But ideally, like, you know, you're in a good situation, we're in a good situation where you can do both and say, like, I can help more people and make more money.
And if you do it in an honest way, I feel like you just make more, kind of like what these guys were saying.
Yeah.
I love how much you guys focus on product. To me, that's so cool. I read the Ray Kroc autobiography, the McDonald's guy.
Yeah.
Bro, he talks for 75 pages about paper cups. Like, that's all he talks about.
Paper clips?
Cups.
No, cups.
Cups.
Because that's how we started with paper cups, right?
Okay.
It's like, but it's fascinating. It's just like the 75 pages are just so cool.
Yeah.
And like he said the same thing you said right now, which is like when he transitioned to McDonald's, it's like we're not franchising in this location because it's not up to the standards yet. Right? It's gotta be to that point. It's just cool that you're focusing on that, you know?
So how do you look at that? Same thing. Do you view it as like an or situation where you can help more people or make more money? Or do you view it as like you can very much do both?
You can do both, but I feel like the place it like gives birth to, like it comes from, should be help more people.
Yeah.
Because, but like you can make more money. It will lead you to make more money, but it's just the quality of the decisions you make are better. Like you could have the same goal. Let's try to build a big business, but if you think about let's try to build a big business in a decade, then in next week, then the quality of your decision is going to be entirely different, even though it's in the same direction. I feel like it's kind of the same thing. One will take you way further. Even though it's in the same direction, it will take you way further. And that was a pain in the ass to learn.
Yeah.
That was really tough. And, you know, with Tweet Hunter, after we sold, like, I really like just, and I never really open up because I don't I don't do that much. But one of my friends came over and he's like one of the few that I really open up with. And I was like, man, like I fucked it up. I should have just like done it like to help more because I feel like I could have made more. You know, it was an and situation, but you live, you learn, right?
Well, I feel like that's one where the way you describe the situation, at least, product wasn't really your responsibility, right? Like your job was to market the product. And so I feel like if you were to just have more involvement or control over the product from day one, kind of like with what you're building now, that's the opportunity to make it an and situation.
Yeah, like ideally that would have been the situation, but being real, I wasn't good. I wasn't competent enough to make it work. Like I didn't have the skill set, and I could have learned it, but I dropped the ball. You know, I just didn't learn it. But
It's not a bad
Now I know.
dropping the ball, selling a business for $1 million. Shit, dropped the ball. Picked up $350K.
yeah,
while I was at
I
it.
guess so. Yeah, yeah, I guess
But
so.
like you said, it's like all part of, you mentioned earlier, God's plan for you, and that sets you onto this path that you're on now. And I feel like just you sharing that on a podcast will really speak to people, because I feel like there was a version of myself before when I was just getting started where it was not about the people at all. It was just all about, we got to sell anyone that is willing to buy this product so that we can increase our MRR or whatever the idol was at that time. Where now it's like all of my fulfillment comes from like that positive reinforcement from customers and students and clients.
Sure.
It's like the best thing ever, you know? And seeing that on Twitter organically, people talking about something that we've helped them with or built without us saying, hey, go tweet about this, you know?
There's an Naval quote that I'm remembering now that you're talking about it. It's not, I don't know if I completely agree with it. Maybe I'll change, but he says, you do marketing because you failed at product, right? Because if not, like the people at the product, like the people that bought the product will talk about it. They will become your marketing. I don't know if I completely agree with it, but what I will say is that because your product is really good, they have become an arm of your marketing side. Like, but it's really cool to see.
Hormozy talked about that. He was recently on Andy Frisella's podcast, and he was saying that most businesses they think their product is a lot better than it actually is. And he's like, picture this. If your entire marketing branch, whether you do Facebook ads, social media content, email, was completely cut off, would you still grow? And the answer for most people would probably be no. But if you have a good product that people enjoy and like about and are going to go and tell other people about, you could probably still grow. And so that was what he was trying to get across, is like, your product is not as good as you think it might be. Focus there, because that's going to be your most powerful marketing asset long term, is word of mouth. And we're starting to see that now with Client Ascension. Is like, people just talk about it, like, without us in the room, in a good way. And like, that just gets people to buy. That gets people to, it just establishes goodwill. I don't know. It's super interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, honestly. Like,
it's super interesting. Scott pointed this out to me earlier on the podcast. I guess that's like my go-to filler word, is
we gotta
super
take a
interesting.
drink.
Super interesting. I want to kind of pivot topics a little bit and ask you about your experience. So just for background, Dan, Christian, and I moved to Tampa last year in January, and we lived together for a year. And like, we love each other, but living with your business partners is like a little bit overwhelming, because you're running a business. You're running a business. Everyone's laughing, but you're running a business together and living together. It's just a lot. And so we ended up moving out. We live in the same apartment building now, but now, like, I look forward to seeing them. I'm not like all pissed off that they're not doing something in the business and not cleaning the dishes. So it's a lot easier to maintain that
He acts
relationship.
like he did the dishes all the time.
So whatever.
Dude, we had a cleaning lady.
All right,
Nobody said that.
Blanca
Subtle
did the dishes. So no, it was just an interesting experience, like living with your business partners. I thought it would be a lot different than it was. And again, not like,
I enjoyed it, man. What's the issue here?
no, I'm kidding. So I
welcome to
wanted
the
ask you
Dr. Phil
about-
podcast.
I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned earlier, like, you lived in Austin with, who was it, Dakota and Dan Co?
Dakota and Denko.
What was that experience like? It was like the hype house of Twitter, I feel like.
Oh, it was what?
Like the hype house. You know the hype house, like the TikTok guys, like all the TikTok influencers live together.
Not
and
gonna make it.
And make content.
Is it like a reality show or something?
You don't
No,
wanna
the
know,
fact
man.
that you don't know is good.
Is a good thing.
Oh, okay. Well,
You guys both know about it, so why are you making fun of me?
so I'm gonna make it. Oh, there you go.
You already
gonna
made
make
it,
it.
bro.
Oh,
You
great.
already
Point
made
of
it.
Let's go. Well, it was cool, man. If anything, this guy's taught me, like, just work ethic. Like, and you know what I found is that the way people are on Twitter, it's very similar to the way they are offline. At least in my experience, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, people would ask me, "Yo, what's Dan Co like?" And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Because all he did, like, exactly the same as, like, he lives his advice. He would wake up, Papa's in, work, train, walk. And then he'd just repeat that all day. Like, that's all he did. I barely talked to Dan Co, but I could observe, like, what they did. Same thing with Dakota. Dude, that guy, I've never seen, like, Dakota's the hardest worker I know. He just does things. He just writes all day. And if anything, it caught me, and maybe it taught you guys something, but I was like, man, I'm slacking. Like, all these guys are just going so hard, and I'm like, I used to wake up at 9 a.m., and these guys wake up at 6. I'm like, oh, fuck. I guess I'll wake up at 6, right? So I could get to the cafe before them, right? And then they would stay up late and keep working. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I just learned so much from work ethic. That was the biggest one. But the one thing I really liked, and like, it's kind of this small thing that Dan mentioned, but to me it was like really transformational. It was like really going deep in one topic, like kind of putting your researcher hat on, and then after you've completed something that you're proud of, that's up to your standards, only then do you put it out into the world. Because he writes the code letter and he writes some other stuff. He really, really like puts a lot of effort in it. It's like ridiculous amounts of work and editing and writing on it. And only then, until it's good, does he put it out. And he's got like 2 million followers on Instagram now. He's like blown up. He's crazy. but it's because like he can like really go deep in one topic and report about it. So I've been implementing that a little bit of my strategy. It's like to the lead gen. Like I don't want to record a 5-minute Loom video on how I do lead gen. I want to understand the basics of lead gen. How do you do it, right? And then you report that. So those two things were like the biggest ones on just how to work harder and go deeper. I'm laughing because I remember some dumb shit Dakota did, but
I gotta hear about this. Dakota's hilarious.
yeah, like he just keeps it real all the time, right? And then we're going at the gym. We're going to the gym, right? And then Dakota's like, he wants to do all these like other activities, right? He wants to go walking and then just do these things. And then he's like, yo, there's a yoga class. And I'm like, do you want to go do yoga? I'm like, sure, I'll do yoga. It turns out it's hot yoga. He did not tell me the hot part, right? So it's hot yoga, right? And then it's like doing hot yoga, you know how you go like this, right? And then for like a minute, not a minute, but for a second, like our hands touched and we made a huge fucking deal about it. Like, all trip. It's like, Jakey, so you'll retweet me? You'll retweet me when you won't touch my hands? What the fuck? I'm like, no, fuck you, man. Dude, no. It's like, man, like, I'd say that from those two guys, they run really cool businesses. But from Dan, I learned more about how to work. From Dakota, I learned more about how to live. So those two really taught me some good stuff. Yeah. And the dishes were never clean in that house. So
what do you think if we were to ask them, they'd say that they learned from you?
I don't know, honestly. Like being real, I feel like they were like in a whole other level than me. So I think I got.
They'll probably
so much
say how to
from
be
them.
humble, because that's like a pretty humble response.
Yeah, that's what everybody says about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honest, well, I don't know, man.
I'm going to ask him and not tell him about this until after, because I feel like, like these guys are saying, you're very humble, dude.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be cool. One time on a podcast, I mean, because Dan's like got such a bigger following than Dakota and me, so they introduced Dakota as Dan Co's friend. I'm like, oh my God. And then in our podcast, you can go on YouTube and check this out, because I did a podcast with them for 1 year recap of Austin. And I asked them, okay, so Dakota, what did you learn? Like, you know, us being together. And he's like, yeah, well, the time I lived in Austin, I learned a lot from Dan. And yeah, that was pretty cool. Dude. Like, all right, whatever. Yeah, but I know. Ask him, but don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I won't. You're very philosophical, dude.
I appreciate it.
That's what we can make the YouTube description. Dan Co's former roommate tells all.
Touching hands, NSFW. Damn, dude. It gets hot and steamy because of yoga.
That it's.
I'm just busting balls. But one thing you did bring up, this is your first in-person podcast. How do you like this vibe versus the typical Zoom interview?
Curious. It's I'm trying not to freak out, because it's like sometimes it's like kind of weird, right? But it's like it's cool, because I feel like when you're in Zoom, people are like not saying things because they don't want to make a delay, right? There's like a 1 second delay and whatnot. But you just talk more like this. It's just
free
cooler.
flowing.
Yeah, it's more free flow, and yeah, it's honestly kind of. I'm a little nervous, but it's cool. I like it.
It is weird, right?
Yeah, you don't seem nervous.
It is always a little weird when
Christian, touch his hand.
Last question that I have before we go into a lightning round, which you should definitely be nervous for, is is just about AI. So I heard you talk about AI. You were one of the first. Tweet Hunter in general is one of the first companies I feel like that introduced AI into the space, right? And so, what are your thoughts on AI, ChatGPT, how that's going to affect, Twitter as we know it, and the work that you and all of us do?
Yeah. I can't say I know much about it, but I can tell about how I use it. And the way I use it is, I use it for writing, but I feel like writing has I really like this definition by David Perell. It's like when you write, it's like you have all these ideas, but you don't really know how they connect, right? You understand why this works the way it does and why the Fed prints money, but not really. It's like when people trying to explain like what's email deliverability, you're like, this is how you do it, but like connecting sometimes can be kind of hard.
Yeah.
But the way I use it is not to write, but to create those bridges. So one of my favorite prompts is, tell me how this is wrong, right? So I'll put my paragraph in and they'll debate against it. I'm like, oh, then it can help, right? But I don't use it as the writing part of it. I use it kind of as the thinking part of it. So shout out Grammar Hippie. I don't know if you guys follow him.
Yeah.
He's all about like copy thinking, right? So I would say I don't use it for copywriting. I use it for copy thinking. And
That's cool.
yeah, it's to me, it's just that way is really useful because, I'll put it in an argument and then AI will argue against it. I'm like, I don't really know this answer.
smart.
Like I'm fucked. Right? Like, if somebody asks this in a lightning round podcast, I don't know what to do, right? But that's how I use it.
It's like,
Yeah, it's like I have no clue, but yeah, that's the biggest one. How do you guys use it? I feel like you guys have a better answer than me on this.
Christian.
Me personally, I use it to typically just write better emails. Like coming up with, there's a new plugin that lets you, I don't want to give out too much of the secret sauce, but gives you like unique ways to personalize an email. I'll say that.
Come on, bro. If someone's listening this far and it's TikTok, they deserve it.
All right. It's a Google Sheets extension called Cargo. You can figure out the rest yourself.
Yeah.
I also use it to do research and think as well. Like, what are the pain points of XYZ? Tell me why. Like, just instead of reading Reddit or Google, I'll just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's very useful. For me, it's like I was crafting a presentation and positioning, and I said, give me like 10 companies with contrarian positioning. And like it gave it to me and it filled out the presentation.
Yeah.
So it helps the thinking aspect of it.
It's for brainstorming is what I use it for.
Yeah,
It's like I'm
that's a way
trying to
better
do
way to
this,
put
give
it.
me some
Yeah.
ideas. And then it'll give you the ideas and you're like, okay, that one's good. Let me riff on it. And so it's just like it's kind of weird to say this, but it's like talking to a friend. Like, honestly.
A slightly, like Oliver Canton says, a slightly left-leaning, well-educated friend.
Yeah, slightly left.
That's kind of what ChatGPT is.
100%.
One thing, I would ask you this. So Hormozy has this thing about like, just give everything away for free, right? But I feel like sometimes if you guys gave out scripts or what you mentioned, it's like people might beat it down to shit.
It's
and it
too much
won't-
influence
before.
in one
Yeah.
specific industry, I feel like.
That was the worst thing to come out of the vault. All the
There's just there's no barrier to entry in cold email. Like you could give out all the sales sauce you want, but if you're a robot on the call, it's not going to work. Or like, here's how to present on Zoom. Like, people have to actually use nuance there, but with cold email, you can just copy paste and just steal it. So
Yeah, it's a little different.
I always like to say that if you read something online about like a free giveaway, it's like something that's already been milked for months, and now like
It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would also argue, though, like if you ask people in the space about cold email and where they've gotten the most value without paying, it'd probably be from one of us. I feel like we've put out a lot of goodwill with free resources and auto DMs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Shout out to some guy named JK Molina for teaching us how to do that.
Shout out to me because I almost turned that idea down because I was like, this is never going to work.
Yeah, it also depends on, I guess, I'm trying to, like with the no barrier to entry thing, that's a really good example. Because if Gary Vee gives all the value he can about how he operates running 7 different businesses that are over $1 billion in value, okay, cool. Like nobody's actually going to be able to take him down. Like his competitors aren't going to need to watch that. It's just like good, like mental masturbation for somebody at the beginning, but they're like, oh my goodness, like this is so cool. This gets me fired up. The problem with something where you're giving out like a free script or just something that anybody can do, it really can backfire if you have enough influence because it's just going to immediately stop working. Then if you're, working with clients who pay you to fulfill a service and get results, and they're not going to be seeing the same amount of value because it's something you give out for free. I don't know. It's weird. It's like an interesting conundrum, but I'd say you're actually doing like a disservice to people who put their ultimate trust in you. Which
I'll lead you to the water. I'll give you the fishing pole, but I ain't showing you how to fish.
yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. You got to take care of the people. You got to take care of your clients first. Is kind of how I view it.
Yeah. When I launched the templates, which are similar to the Vault, right?
Yeah.
It was just a shit ton of tweets, right? With formats. And if you plug this here, plug this there, it's going to work out. And for like 3 months, like all the formats were the same.
Same.
I'm like, oh God. You know how on Twitter people go, 99% of people don't know how to use this. but if you read this thread, you'll learn how to. And like, it's like everybody says the same thing.
Everyone said it.
Yeah, but specifically with that's a way better way to put it. Because before this, I would have said I don't give out scripts, but now to you, it's like after talking to you, maybe it's like I don't give out things that people could copy and paste.
Yeah.
Because then it's like,
Yeah.
they're just not gonna work, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to learn either. They're not going to benefit from just copy and pasting because they don't understand why it works or doesn't work. And
They might benefit, but it's
short
just
term.
yeah. But you know,
Well, you have to learn, what is it, principles over
Yeah,
frameworks?
principles over.
Like you have to learn about why this works instead of what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Why it works or why it doesn't work.
Like I could give you this one script, or I could teach you how to formulate them on your own, so you don't need to rely on a Twitter thread, right?
you know what's interesting is I find that the more money people have, the less interested they're being told in what to do, but more interested in how to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they want this framework that they can
and
understand.
that's the other justification for it too, is I feel like when people pay for things, they pay attention, right? It's like the common saying in self-development and self-help is like when people pay, they pay attention. And I feel like for things that I get for free, like auto DM resources, to be honest, I've probably signed up for 100. I couldn't tell you one that I've actually read because I didn't pay for it. There's no investment on my part other than commenting.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
why
I'm
the
an
auto DM
NPC,
works.
like the one Dakota did. Did you see that? He's a common NPC.
I don't know.
So
the
many
NPC.
people commented I'm an NPC. I'm like, the joke writes itself, man. Come on.
The document was literally a Google Doc that said you're an NPC. That was the only one I've read, actually.
When I was making $250 a month, I remember there was this course, and the copy was just so good, and everybody was recommending it. The Tesh Dosa copywriting course.
Okay.
That course was $255. I was like, man, like dropping $255 on this, fuck, right? And I did, right? Because I saved up, and like I could have found some of that info in other places, but the fact that I just spend my monthly income on this thing, it's just I gotta make it work.
Yeah.
Right. And because like I was so like vested in it, it's that I did it. It's like when it hurts, you move, right? And I just had to do it. I had a friend too. I was like, we went to high school together. Well, elementary, middle, high school together, and I told him about this Twitter thing and ghostwriting, and you should get into it. And he just never did anything. But in 1 month, they crashed his car, they stole his iPad, and they stole his laptop, right? And he was just fucking pissed. And then he called me. It's like, what's this Twitter thing again? 3 months later, he's making like $6K a month just ghostwriting. I'm like, when it hurts, you move. Like you have to make it work, you make it work. It's again back to Hormozy. There's in the Iced Coffee Hour podcast. It's not a secret we're Hormozy fanboys here, right? It's like, we've said this for like 7 times already. Fuck.
Just so everyone knows, we challenged JK to see how many times he could name drop Hormozy before the podcast.
Anyway, there's so the guy that helps with like the editing, the Scott at the Iced Coffee Hour podcast, right? So this guy's like he's like super fat, right? And he actually, I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna talk about? What was I talking about before this?
When it hurts, you move.
Oh, you're right. He said like he's super overweight. And he's like, Alex, how do I lose weight? He's like, you might just have to get bigger. And he's like 300 something pounds. Right? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, because it doesn't hurt enough for you to move. Or you don't hate yourself enough. You don't have that like power in you.
Yeah.
So sometimes maybe if you don't have the motivation, maybe you have to go like lower. And that's where you find the motivation.
More zen. More zen coffee.
First time I tried the Zint, it was a 6 milligram. I wasn't ready. We're like moving inside the house and putting the sofa in. And I remember like it hit while I was doing the sofa. So I put like the pillows in the floor. I just couldn't do too much.
I think that's a cool way to describe entrepreneurship. I was talking about, no, not the Zen. Or
Taking a Zen while
passing.
carrying a couch.
No, Scott and I were talking about this the other day, but like the whole thing with entrepreneurship and why it's like taking a leap of faith is so important is because once you take that leap of faith, like you just figure out how to make it work. Like you have to put yourself in the situation where you have to figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to experience a lot of pain and suffering. And like that's what entrepreneurs are really good at is throw yourself into the fire and then figure out a way out. It's just being resourceful. And that's what guys like us do.
Was there a moment for you where you had to take that leap of faith?
I mean, at multiple different points in the process, I feel like, yes. Trying to recall one that's like
Moving to cold
Super
email as a business
specific.
model when we were not into it at all, basically.
Yeah, pivoting business models was always big. I mean, we had one where we built up a business for 2 years to around 20K a month, and we completely ditched the business and started from scratch. And at first, it seemed like a really scary decision, like leave everything that we built for 2 years to start over again.
Moving to Florida and signing
Moving
a
to
lease,
Florida, yeah.
that
So
was
there
out of our
was.
budget.
I mean, I feel like it's like every day. There's things where it's like taking that leap of faith and throwing yourself into the fire.
Financing a Rolex? No.
Financing a Rolex, no.
Do not finance a Rolex, bro.
Starting a podcast, like, dude, we spend a lot of money to do a podcast, and like we know if we just let this thing go for 3 or 4 months straight without anything happening, we're not going to be able to afford it. But because we throw ourselves out there and are now actively doing it, like we're going to make it work. And so it's just like you have to play the game.
Yeah.
Is really what it is. Otherwise, you can't win.
Stop being a, what did Clay say? Stop being a bitch.
Stop being yeah. That was great. You guys want to move into the lightning round?
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
All right, I'm not even going to intro. You ready?
What, like,
It's a question. You have to answer it. It's really quick.
yeah.
If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Are
Alex,
alive.
Layla.
I'd have one with Lobo, for sure. I'd have one with Alex, for sure. And Novak Djokovic.
Djokovic would be awesome.
Yeah, there's one part that I might be fucking up the lightning round, but it's just a story that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
It's about how sometimes he hears the crowds go like Rafa and like
Hear
Roger,
the
Roger,
component,
and he's like,
or opponent.
all I hear is just Novak. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's so sick.
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn that. I want to see how it thinks. So probably Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I love Mike Tyson.
What about him?
Savage.
It's if you read his autobiography, he was like so insecure growing up. He had this, like, he was just a mama's boy. He was like, and he talked about how every time he looked in the mirror, he thought he was like hideous, and he hated himself, and he turned that into, you know, the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. So I'm like, you got to respect that. You know, I'm like, I got to understand. I want to understand that.
Like, at what point did it change for him?
When
he was in jail.
it was
Probably when he was like, he started training like hardcore when he was like 12.
Yeah,
Have you ever
he-
seen pictures of him when he was like 13, 14?
he's huge.
Unbelievable.
Huge.
Like fully built, same like frame that he has now.
Wow.
Body type.
He got discovered in jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
Christian, what did you discover in jail?
Oh, I don't know.
did he touch hands with anybody in jail?
Oh, we touched. Yeah.
A lot more than that.
No, Tyson was in jail and he was like always getting in fights. And one of the guards was like, "My buddy's like a big boxing guy. He's like really good. He's like, let's see if you can fight him." And Tyson like beat the shit out of him.
Fuck.
So then they introduced him to his trainer, and that was it.
That's cool.
Spinal.
Yeah, dude. The way he just thought about, like, even punching. He said, "I don't punch to hit. I punch to like make a hole in your skull." Like, that's what he's thinking about when he's punching.
His knockout highlights are just the best ever.
It's
bro.
crazy. And they're super short too.
Yeah.
It's
First
just
round.
like 5 seconds and then 10 seconds. It's just another one.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My uncle here wasn't he at the fight where he bit off the ear? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
You gotta talk to him. He's a big Tyson.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's in the casino afterwards, and they like
There was like a shooting.
people were flipping
Wasn't there a
tables.
shooting?
Yeah, and there was like a robbery at the casino.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Must have been crazy. Okay, so that was that question. You nailed that. That was pretty impressive. The next one is Twitter specific. It's if you could write one tweet, which you know what a tweet is. Sometimes you have to explain it to guests, like, oh, it's 240 characters, whatever. Or now it's unlimited, I think, if you have Twitter Blue. But anyways, if you could put out one tweet that's guaranteed to be seen by every user on Twitter, what would you say and why?
Legs in cash.
Jesus
Because
Christ.
they ain't.
This guy's faster than lightning. Says it on his hat.
I got.
Explain that.
I was
actually.
ready for that one, man.
Explain the background.
Yeah, the background on that was I built a big account, right? And I had like 70,000 followers. And when I had 70,000 followers, this guy booked a call with me because he wanted Twitter advice. He had 900 followers. So you can imagine my embarrassment when we got on the call and I realized that I had 70K, he had 900, and we were at the same monthly income. Well, there's no fucking way. Like, how do you have 900 followers, right? It's like, he's just, you know, he's making a lot of money, like the same money I was making at 70K with me 70 times with his reach. And I was just kind of embarrassed at that point because I was like, man, like, I'm not making this work. And then Jack Butcher actually tweeted one tweet that I liked. I was like, he said, engagement ain't cash. I'm like, I like it, but you know, it could use a little bit more musicality to it. It was like, likes and cash. That's where it was born. And you know, there's this really cool quote by Joyce Meyer. I like it. It's your mess becomes your message. I feel like my mess, which was building a big account and not monetizing it, that was my mess. My message now becomes likes and cash, and that's what I build my account around, showing others that, hey, like if you have a big account,
powerful.
you can't be fucking broke, right? You got to do something. So that's what I do now.
Yeah. Ed Milet says something very similar. It's like the best business model, especially in our space, at least like with coaching programs and selling info products, is helping a past version of yourself.
And then when you talk to that person, when you write, your tone changes, like things change. You feel so much like there's so much power to you. Yeah. And it's like, because it's past you, you can speak with absolute confidence because it's you.
You felt it.
You were there.
Yeah. That's it's so cool.
Sweet. So the last 2 times we've done this, I've asked somebody what they would do if they had just sold their business. You did just sell your business, so I'm going to change it up. Is there a type of business that you're not currently running that you would love to one day run? Maybe like, you know, a fashion and apparel brand, a coffee shop, a bar. I don't know what interests you, but is there a type of business that one day you would like to start that you're not currently working on?
I love that question. I've been thinking about that too a lot. Merch, but bracelets. So at some point I want to like create likes and cash merch, but I'm thinking like it's gonna be hard for people to wear it on their hats or like on their shirts. But it'd be cool if I created like a likes and cash bracelet to me, because then when you write, you do it with your hands, right? And then you can see that reminder, and every time you post, you'll be like, yeah, I'm not posting to get likes, I'm posting to build a brand, right? To build a business. So I really want to have that like kind of a bigger like significance and meaning, so that like real world stuff, like a bracelet like that, I think that'll be like really cool.
I like that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Solid. So there's 2. You want to take the one we've always used?
Which one?
18. All right, you can
Yeah,
take that
we'll
one.
do that last.
So if you could prepare a 3-course meal and you had to choose an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert, what are you putting in your meal for your best friends and family? And you want to really show off your food connoisseur, taste palette, you know, really impress them.
All right. This is a heavy question, man. I like this. I like this question because I'm a food fan. I love food. I'll say entree. No, like what's the first one? Appetizer, right? Yeah, appetizer. How about like this raw fishes and like nigiri, but like having all these like really different types of sashimi fish. I really like fish. Like that'd be cool. I'd feel like. Then we gotta go Wagyu steak. Of course, there's this like what you get real Wagyu, like that's sold like commercially, isn't the same as like real Wagyu. The real Wagyu has a hazelnut taste. I learned this from this dude on Twitter. Yeah,
Like
this
Nutella?
hazel. What?
Like chocolate hazelnut?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't tasted it because it's like, you know, I don't have it. But
Yeah.
that one is like just so you can tell the story behind it. You know, I think that'll be cool. And dessert.
Maybe a side for your steak first.
Okay, we'll have. No, dude, this is a heavy question. This is a good question.
The way Christian asked it though is funny. It's just like
What he did with his fingers.
Steak is only as
you
good
can see it
as
on
the side
YouTube.
with it.
That's right. I like potatoes, man. I'm a potatoes kind
Mashed
of guy.
potatoes with steak is
Yeah, it's like no, but like the full potato with butter.
okay.
Yeah, I'm that kind of guy. Yeah, and yeah, and some corn. I fucking like corn, man. And tortillas. Yeah, for sure tortillas. But like not the soft tortillas, but the ones that you like put in the fire and they're kind of like tostadas. That one.
What are you finishing the steak with?
What do you mean you finish?
We got butter, we got sauce, we give it a little top.
Oh, you just need salt.
Okay.
Like good steak only needs salt.
That's fair.
Yeah.
most important dessert.
Yeah, that's the main one. You never skip dessert, right? Another one to the Hormozy count.
You got to do like a Hormozy reference counter out there.
Okay, so we'll add. Oh man, like there was this. Oh man, I tried this for the first time the other day. Mountain Road, Rocky Road. Is it Rocky Road? Like chocolate?
cream?
Yeah,
Chocolate
Rocky
with the
Road.
peanut butter?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Welcome to America.
It's in New York.
Bro, like, oh man, like, you know, every time I come to America, like I just fucking indulge. So I it's bad. The other one, a Five Guys, bro, the double cheeseburger
Oh, it's
Five
good.
Guys is good.
Five Guys
and the
is good.
chocolate milkshake. Oh my god, yeah. And I, like, you guys probably be like, this guy has cheap ass taste. I don't care, dude. I really,
No,
I,
Five Guys is
really I
legit.
love Five Guys. It's so good.
Oh, dude, I
But
grew
yeah.
up on fast food 100%.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good for your neurons. Makes you think fast.
Speed.
Yeah,
Speed.
yeah,
That's what it's
speed.
all about.
How fast can you get to the toilet after?
Jesus.
Well, he's really good at that because now he's been running a mile a day for like fucking. Where are you at now?
233.
Oh, there you go. I like that. You know, I learned from that post. I actually learned a marketing technique from that post because
Okay.
when you add something to that thread, it doesn't just show the last tweet; it also shows the first,
First tweet.
Yeah. So what you could do is you could do a thread on client testimonials. You keep adding, and it shows both.
Every time.
Yeah.
That's smart.
I'm like, oh, that could work. Yeah.
God damn.
But,
I'm gonna stop running and just start posting clients.
You could do both. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. The last question of the lightning round is: if you could go back and have a conversation with your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
There's a video series that Big Sean did. It's all about like patience, love. It's like patience, love, speed, something like that. There's like this series, and there's one that's like where he says in patience, if you go too fast, you might not get what you're going. So sometimes I feel I think too little, I do things too fast, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? So I would tell him that just like you're gonna make it work, just don't rush it. You're gonna get there. I would tell him that.
That's sick. I love Big Sean.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's a legend. I gotta find that series.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. Yeah.
Appreciate it, dude. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Happy we made it work. Not in our typical setting in Tampa, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
I mean,
cozy.
I was gonna say this is this might be the coolest like visually appealing set that we have. We'll see. We'll see how it looks.
with the
Mr. Producer shaking his head. Yes.
Yeah. Next time we'll get more nicotine involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I was gonna say I've got Zen upstairs.
Yeah, well, after this celebratory.
Yeah, we could do that.
But dude, where can our audience? Because Stick Talk is just what was this hour and a half, 2 hour podcast or whatever. Yeah, so there's still a lot more to your story that these guys can go out and learn about and just from you and just follow what you're doing from here on going forward. So just drop any links where people can find you, all that sort of stuff.
I appreciate it. So you can follow me, and my main one is Twitter. So it's ONE JK Molina. So one JK Molina. If you want to grow your audience, I'm not your guy. But if you want to monetize your audience, welcome. That'll be
Appreciate
it.
you, bro.
See you, man.
Sweet.
Thank
Dude,
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
all.
coming on.